So something I've been telling people to think about Ascend is if you imagine Disneyland and take away the rides, and now the characters and the design become the main attraction of the event, and you're at Disneyland, but all these characters are trying to pull you into adventures and side plots, and you can become the villain, or you can actually poison Snow White or try to save her, and you get to live in the story of Disneyland instead of worrying about doing all the rides or things like that.
I would say our event is a mixture of live gaming and live action role play and theater performance. And generally, it's meant to create an environment where you feel that you are a character in an unfolding story.
Imagine a video game, a role-playing video game, and then imagine yourself being in it as a character with considerably less rules and a lot more freedom.
A new form of entertainment that doesn't really exist yet, that is unlike anything they can ever really get outside of what we are able to provide.
It's a fantasy come to life for everyone, every guest that attends.
When we started out, we actually thought that it was going to be a maze with special effects, games, and actors in it. So a more skewed version of an escape room, question mark? We weren't quite sure where it was heading, but that was what we initially started with. We wanted to create something which required emotional investment and something which would allow your abilities to shine through and determine an outcome. Then someone else luckily came in and they suggested this idea of quests, and they kind of, Nick Metzler, he wrote down a draft of what this would look like, and it included people doing a series of items or challenges which included character interactions and puzzles and games. And what we did was that we took it and we narrativized it. As project lead, this was an incredibly rewarding process because everybody truly took ownership of this project. 2 weeks before the event, each team was putting in 6 hours a day just doing building sessions, rehearsals, game testing, simultaneously every single day.
My first impressions were, wow, these people who I'm working with are super professional and they know what's going on, and I am a total fish out of water here because I've never done something quite like this. So it was intimidating, exciting, humbling all at the same time.
When you are able to create something that's not in service of the text that's already there, but in service of the guests themselves, this is their story. This is what they're here to do and to live, and something that would be catering directly to them rather than to the needs of some already established story or some overarching theme that's part of a work of art. This is for them.
Given that I think that a lot of things came together in the week or two before the event happened, just due to a spring break happening the week before and just some other logistical difficulties that we figured out.
The last couple of weeks right before the event, right when we were supposed to be fabricating, it started raining every weekend and only on the weekends, which were when we planned to work. So we didn't get to work and we were rushed right up until literally working on stuff still on Saturday. Half the team was installing and getting everything coordinated in the event, and 2 or 3 people were outside literally like wiring and paper macheing and painting and doing all these last minute things because we just couldn't get it done in time because the weather wouldn't allow it.
The amount of running around we had to do right before to kind of shuttle things from space to space, and just the kind of weirdness of trying to figure out how many cardboard blocks I could fit in a Prius, or figuring out that the beach balls that we had bought for the Maya ball game had to be blown up with a bike pump, and no one owns one of those, so running over to a bike store and asking them to blow up bouncy balls the day before the event.
The day of the event, the hieroglyph wall that the design team had spent 6 months on broke. So I spent half an hour of the event consoling crying people. There were a lot of props that were misplaced after we actually started the event. The opening ceremony didn't happen on time. A lot of things, like we'd actually incorporated superpowers which we couldn't develop sufficiently with the timeline that we had, so we just kind of threw them out there. There were so many different elements which we really hoped would come together, but didn't come together the way we wanted them to.
Because we had to cater to the needs of those organizations of which we were using their space, unfortunately, we weren't able to just make what we wanted. We had to find more creative solutions. But I think that the alternate wonderful part of that was, even though we had that limit on our creativity, that just means that we had to be that much more creative in the solutions that we encountered and that we came up with. So using cardboard boxes to create Greek columns and the sides of ruins, I'm really happy and satisfied with the way that ended up looking. Because every obstacle is just an opportunity to find some better way to get over it. And I think we were still able to effectively represent what we imagined. And of course, it's not everything that we would have wanted it to be, but I think that it was everything that a guest could want it to be.
People are craving more than just books and movies. They're craving more than looking at something on a screen. They really want to be able to experience something. They want to see something. They want to taste it. They want to touch it. They want to hear it. They want to become part of the world. And I think what we do is we allow them to have agency in this world. We allow them to create the story as it weaves around them by talking to our actors, by our actors, telling them, good job, thank you so much for becoming, thank you so much, demigod, for helping your godly parent. And I think it's just a whole other way of portraying unique stories.
Because something like for this kind of event where you are stepping into another world, we try to respond the way the world would respond, but that also gives you an incredible amount of freedom that we have to be prepared for. And so being prepared for all the crazy things that audience members did. I know some audience members, there's a moment where someone's supposed to steal some flowers, and instead of stealing just some of them, they stole all of our flowers and trying to coordinate to get that back. There's one moment in the event where Loki encourages someone to finally steal Pandora's box, and they did it so well that I was signaled, got a message from an actress saying, I am worried that somebody actually tricked the prize table people into stealing Pandora's box preemptively. But no, it's just the audience member did that good of a job tricking us. So adapting to the audience was really fun. But is something that we're constantly doing, even behind the scenes, to make sure that experience is as transparent and seemingly natural as possible for you, the audience member.
One of the things that we specifically spent a lot of time on and made sure that we'd hit was the idea of agency this time round. So we had specific quests developed where an actor or a prop would tell you two different ideas that were going on simultaneously and asked you to make a choice which would hopefully kind of direct your experience and your loyalties.
We have a number of different endings, actually, depending on how the event throughout the night works, and then how our final battle sequence works at the end. So there are two sides throughout the event: an order side, or Order of the Sun, we called them, and the Revolution, who wants to overthrow the gods. And all through the night, audience members are being recruited by different gods and goddesses to join one side or another, and in the end, they launch this giant battle between the two sides. Because our event was only one day only, we only had one ending go through. The Revolution side won. And that changes the endings of each pantheon. So pantheons, depending on if Order or Revolution wins, they fall apart or they get together, they forgive each other, they split up. Different things will happen to different characters.
People got so into it. By the end of it, they were chanting revolution and order. They were completely invested in the idea of protecting or taking away free will to save the world. There were people who said that they felt like a complete hero because they defeated the gods. What the audience took away was so much more than I could have initially anticipated, and knowing that I have the ability to create that kind of experience was something that has been invaluable. Being able to create a team that has taken away so much from this experience. Each one of them has come up to me at some point saying that this experience has been invaluable to their growth process, and that they have learned a lot from project management to hard design skills to filming while putting this together is something that has been invaluable. And I have thanks to these experiences, decided that this is the career path that I want to stay on. I want to do these kinds of experiences for the rest of my life, so we can continue creating worlds that people can be a part of and hopefully leave more empowered.
I am a totally different person from when I started this. Before, I was quiet, I was very shy, even in the first couple core team meetings, I just kind of sat there and I didn't feel like I was contributing a whole lot. But as the weeks went on, I started to become a little bit more vocal, able to talk to people, to delegate, become less of a control freak, because before I was kind of, I want to have my hands on everything, but learning to let go and trust your team was a huge, huge lesson that I learned from this project. It opened me up to gain a whole lot of confidence. Learning to accept recognition for some of the things I've been able to do has always been challenging. I'm a totally different person from when I started this, and I've already, just hearing people say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're able to do that," is really rewarding.
It definitely helped my confidence in creating such a large event. So this event was it had over a $32,000 budget, and it was just really rewarding to be able to work on something that had such a large scope, and that we were expecting over 300 participants to come, and that we were working with kind of so many resources and so many different rental companies and funding sources to kind of put it together. So I think that just in terms of logistics, it was a good challenge, and it was something that I was proud that we overcame and that we worked on, and especially as someone going into nonprofit management, possibly event management, that was helpful to me in like a career pathway.
I think it's definitely helped me take a lot of what I've learned in classes and a lot of what I've observed others do. I have a lot of experience in theater as an actor, and being able to observe directors, and being able to observe producers, and being able to observe designers, that's one thing. Being able to say, wow, it's great that they're able to do that, and you see the effect that it has in creating that world. But now I actually have a hands-on experience of doing it myself, and not just being able to feel that as an actor, but being able to walk around as guests are in that world themselves and see the change that comes over them versus when they're in the outside, in the mortal world, walking around USC, versus coming in and actually stepping into Mount Olympus. And I think that that experience of learning to do that myself has been immeasurably valuable.
I believe it's truly a spiritual experience when you get to step inside another world and have, I think the whole purpose of theater and entertainment as a whole is to give us an experience that we might not get to have otherwise, or to allow us to step into someone else's shoes and be able to experience something to gain a broader understanding of the human experience that we might not be able to do otherwise. So I think being able to step into a completely immersive environment to re-experience yourself in a new world that you can define and see how those choices play out, it gives you a safe space to see to get a broader understanding of the human experience and what it is to be human and what it is to be alive and what it is to have agency and have free will and be able to create and interact and sit back and watch as a person.
The word that I would use to describe this event actually isn't something that's fantastical or magical or elaborate or anything like that, but the more I think about it, the more I feel that it's cozy. It's like coming home and curling up with a good book. It's being able to step outside what you had going on in your day and step outside what's going on in normal life and live outside that for a moment. It really is like a daydream.
One of the most exhilarating and beautiful moments was waking up the next day and thinking, how did we do that? Like, knowing how we did that, but thinking on a macro level, we did that. 113 people, first 5 people, becoming 113 people, created an event that impacted over 400 people. And an event that is nothing that USC has ever seen before. And, hopefully we'll see it again in the future. But we created something that was so unique and special and incredibly impactful. And I think, you know, the disbelief and the adrenaline and the exhilaration of thinking about that just really, really did it for me.